Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So I wanted to talk about Daryl Dixon and I guess future seasons and some of the confirmation that we do have regarding some of the storyline for season 2 and just a bunch of details. There's actually a bunch of stuff that came out in the last couple of days and yeah, I want to get into all that here. So before going any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. I'm going to be doing a video tomorrow breaking down the trailer for Daryl Dixon, and it's a different trailer. It's not the same one that released at Comic-Con. I mean, most of it's the same, but there's actually a lot of shots in it that reveal something that I originally wasn't going to talk about, but I've been seeing some of the more official accounts, you know, like with The Walking Dead and AMC in general, talking about it. So I was like, I guess if they're talking about it, it's not really that much of a spoiler or anything like that. So yeah, I'll do a video breaking all that down tomorrow and getting into a lot of that. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But yeah, we do have the official timeline here confirmed for season 2 of The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, and a lot of this comes from David Zabel. So Season 1 apparently starts like 3 to 4 weeks, like in the very first episode of Season 1, apparently starts 3 to 4 weeks after the end of The Walking Dead when Daryl drives off and leaves the Commonwealth, right? And that to me, I find very surprising because I thought it was a few months. I thought originally we found out it was a few months till maybe even like a year or something afterwards. So that to me is a little surprising because he didn't really go out there to try and look for Rick for that long, really. But what's even more surprising, and this is why I don't really pay attention to timelines, season 2 apparently starts the same day, basically, as the finale. Like, maybe it's the same day, maybe it's like a couple of days later, but it's pretty much the same exact timeline. And this was confirmed by David Zabel. And the reason why this makes no sense to me is because if you've watched the opening minutes of Daryl Dixon season 2, Daryl says something like, it's only been a few weeks, or it's been like 2 weeks, or something like that anyways, regarding training Laurent to fight walkers, you know, which obviously he never did that before in season 1. So that's what I mean. Like, at that point, he already came back with Laurent. He's back at the nest and he's been training for however long. Like, maybe there's another, you know, scene before that. Although it did say that that was the first 11 minutes of the episode. But like, maybe there was a scene before that they cut out that shows Daryl going back to the nest. And so maybe you're technically talking about that. I have no idea. But yeah, that to me, I just found really weird. And this is why I don't really follow timelines. And I always say, just don't follow timelines that much. Just look at it overall and maybe follow it like year by year sort of thing. Like, I look at it like, well, Daryl Dixon is a couple of months after, I guess, the end of The Walking Dead. But I'll just say it's a couple of months to a year. Like, it's within that time frame. And I've been seeing a lot of stuff online. I don't remember the article, but they were talking about which years the show is set in. And apparently The Walking Dead and Daryl Dixon and whatnot, like, they're all set in 2023, but Dead City is set in 2029. That I find so ridiculous. Like, I don't know why it's set that far in the future. Like, I understand that some shows were sort of like that beforehand because The Walking Dead was 6 or 7 years ahead of Fear the Walking Dead. Like, I think even in season 7 of Fear the Walking Dead, they were like around the same timeline, maybe a year after like All Out War. Like, they were still like all the way back then in the timeline. And obviously The Walking Dead jumped forward so far into the future. So, like, I get it. Sometimes it's going to happen with shows, but I find it so off with the spin-offs here specifically because you have Maggie and Negan so far into the future that it's like, well, you look at a show like Daryl Dixon and I'm like, do they know that Daryl came back, or is that confirmation that Daryl just hasn't come back yet? And it's weird because like they won't even talk about Daryl, or like, is there going to be a Rick mention? Like, they should know that Rick and Michonne made it back, right? But I don't know if they're ever going to bring it up because I don't really know how a lot of that's going to play out here. And that's why I think that Dead City is just, it's too far into the future. I personally am not the biggest fan of that timeline, even though I do understand why they're doing it. It is a little bit too much. Like, if 2029 is actually the year, that is way too far, but I still think it's probably like 3 to 4 years after The Walking Dead ends. And so maybe it's like 2 years or 2 or 3 years after The Ones Who Live and after Daryl Dixon. The showrunner also talked about the future of The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon and said that they're thinking of a season 4 right now. And he actually sort of talks about it, saying that, you know, like, he has no idea of the overall plan for Daryl Dixon. You know, like, when they first came up with the story idea and started to really work on the show, it really was just like 12 episodes. They just took it 12 episodes at a time. So the first, you know, I guess story was basically the first 2 seasons, and then I guess season 3 and 4 are going to be another 12 episodes, because he also does confirm that season 3 is going to be 6 episodes, which I am definitely very, very disappointed with. I think that it has to be more than that. Like, I'm really honestly not a fan of the episodes being only just 6 episodes, because there's not a lot of time to really focus on certain aspects of the story. Like, you really felt it, especially with The Ones Who Live. It was so rushed, and Daryl Dixon and Dead City, there was moments in like the middle part of the story where you just needed an extra episode or two to really focus on some of the, stuff going on before you got to like the end game part of the season. And it just felt like as soon as you got to the middle part of the season, you were like, okay, I'm here. I'm in the season. This is what we just got introduced to in the first 2 or 3 episodes. You're all of a sudden at the end of the story for the season, right? Like, you're already on episode 4 or 5 and you're like, okay, how is the season going to wrap up? Like, you're already there. And it just, for Dead City, they rushed a lot of that storyline, at least when it came to Maggie and Negan, I guess, going to the arena and whatnot, all that stuff happening there. And then with Daryl Dixon, the same thing happened around the same time when they were going to Paris. They just like really fast went to Paris. And obviously The Ones Who Live, I think the pacing for that show was overall actually pretty good for the first 4 or 5 episodes, but obviously by the end it shows why I think the other 2 shows are paced the way they are, because they had to rush the ending at the very, very end, right? They told it really well in the first 5 episodes of The Ones Who Live. I think the pacing was overall all right, and then all of a sudden episode 6, they had to rush the ending. Daryl Dixon and Dead City, I think the pacing was much better than The Ones Who Live, but still, there was that middle part there where they just sort of went through it a little bit too quick, and that's why I've always said 8 episodes to me is just so much better. Like, you have those extra 2 episodes where people can just sort of sit with the story a little bit. And, so I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of this. I think season 3 being 6 episodes is a big mistake, but at least Dead City's going to have more episodes, right? I think there's 7 episodes or 8. I'm pretty sure there's 8 episodes, but I heard Lauren Cohen saying something about it being 7 episodes, or she referenced that she directs episode 6, which is like the penultimate episode or something she said. So I'm like, wait, so is there only 7 episodes? But going back to what I was saying before about David Zabel, he was actually talking about like season 4 and sort of talking about the future and whatnot, and he was saying that like they don't really know if the show is going to be like just 4 seasons or 6 seasons, and he doesn't really have this whole grand plan for The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon. I will say Norman Reedus did mention, like, even if he did know, he couldn't say, and he was like, yeah, that's right, even if I did know anything, I can't really say anything anyways, because he doesn't really plan any of this. Like, it's Gimple that plans all that out, and also AMC as well. Like, they know the plans for The Walking Dead overall over the next, like, however many years. Like, they know like what direction they want to go in, and if they want to do certain things with like some of the bigger characters, they choose to do that. And then obviously David Zabel has to sort of come up with a way to sort of make that happen, right? It was the same thing with like The Walking Dead final season. Angela Kang was the showrunner, obviously, and she did really amazing, and she had to manage all of that. But whenever Gimple or I guess AMC wanted to do certain things and have the characters, I guess, maybe go in this direction for the story or whatever, like, she would have to sort of work all that out and make all that happen. But I remember back then too, they would ask her a lot of questions about like the future and some of the spin-offs and other things like that, and she never really knew. I think sometimes she would know like some stuff, but overall she didn't really know any of the answers. So to me, David Zabel saying this, it's not really that surprising. Like, he has no idea if it's going to be 4 seasons or 6 seasons. I know Norman Reedus said he would like to play Daryl Dixon for another 6 or 7 years, so I look at it like that and I'm like, well, I think, 6 seasons for Daryl Dixon makes sense. Like, if they're focusing on like 2 seasons at a time sort of thing, then like, season 1 and 2 will be one story, season 3 and 4 maybe another story, 5 and 6 will end everything, and that will be in 4 years from now we'll get season 6, right? And so in 4 years from now, based off of Norman Reedus saying 6 or 7 years of playing Daryl Dixon anyways, maybe those last like 2 or 3 years are more focused on like the Endgame spinoff and reunion with Rick Grimes, right? So I could see it sort of playing out like that. That makes sense. Like, this whole era of The Walking Dead ending around 2030, I guess. We also did learn that season 3 is going to begin filming in late August. And yeah, I know that they were supposed to start filming in June. At least that was some of the rumors. And then it was July. And yeah, I guess now we have confirmation that they are filming here in late August. I know sometimes filming gets like pushed back for like whatever reasons, because I know The Ones Who Live, they were supposed to start at some point in January, ended up getting pushed off to like February or something like that. So sometimes that stuff happens. It's just, it is what it is, I guess. And we also are only 8 more weeks until the premiere now, so it is coming very, very fast. And yeah, I do want to talk about this shot right here of Daryl and Carol. I'm not going to talk about it like in this video too much, because there's actually other shots related to this that I do want to focus on a lot more and sort of talk about it overall in the video. And this video is getting pretty long at this point here, but it's just very interesting because this shot was specifically cropped for the trailer. Like they actually literally cropped Carol out entirely, just zoomed in on Daryl. And that's what I mean. I've said this before, but like whenever you watch trailers for The Walking Dead, if there's any shots that seem like they're low quality, and if you watch the Comic-Con trailer during these shots here, it seems like very, very low quality, right? It's because they zoomed in on the characters, and so that's why, right? And so, yeah, actually, like the full shot, you have Daryl and Carol together. So really cool. It's actually really cool to see them together here. This probably happens pretty early on. I'm assuming episode 2. I don't think it'll be episode 3 because I think their reunion's going to happen in episode 2. And yeah, again, I'll talk about this a lot more in depth and what actually could be happening like in the story, because it looks like around this point they went back to see, I'm not sure what her name is. I think her name was Anne or something like that. But yeah, she was obviously with Quinn and whatnot in season 1. They went back there and I'm not entirely sure why, but I think some of the storyline this season might be them trying to go back to America. Like they actually might decide to do that, but at some point obviously they're going to end up in Spain. And also we did learn that there was supposed to be like a new walker. I actually saw a quote, I think it was from David Zabel or it was from Nicotero, but they were talking about how there's all these new variant walkers and whatnot, and obviously what we saw in season 1 was really cool, but they're even more crazy in season 2. But they said that there was some sort of like special surprise, there was something new that they never did before in terms of like this new type of walker that we're going to see, I guess, towards the end of this season. So I'm really curious about that. I don't know if it's going to be like I'm trying to think, if they're doing a variant walker right now, like what would that even be? Like I honestly, I have no idea. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, I'll leave it here. I just wanted to do a video today because it's Sunday and I figured that, I missed doing a video yesterday. I had a bunch of stuff I had to do, so I had to miss that. Today I'm just going to post this, but tomorrow I will get back on it and start posting a lot more breakdowns and videos and whatnot on The Walking Dead. Today I just wanted to talk about all the smaller topics regarding some of the other reveals, I guess, for The Walking Dead. And yeah, I'm excited. The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon is premiering in just 8 weeks from now. Post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.